Hi, welcome to my butterfly enclosure. I have found myself in a position that I am raising monarch butterflies. I never really thought that this would be something that I would be interested in, but here we are. So I thought I saw another caterpillar. I purchased in the spring two annuals and one perennial milkweed plant with the thought of attracting monarchs to my garden. Last September of 2020, I found a random monarch on the bottom of one of my tomatoes that I was going to harvest. And of course, I couldn't harvest it then because the butterfly was in a chrysalis, and I didn't want to disturb that process. So I left the tomato, and when it hatched, it was just the funnest, most glorious day. I found an aphid. Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of that before I put it in my enclosure with the butterfly caterpillars. So it was just so magical, and the fact that my great grandma loved monarch butterflies really just kind of drove it home for me in September that I wanted to try to bring monarchs to my yard this spring or summer, because normally they migrate August through September in my area. Well, it is July 23rd, and I currently have 13 monarch caterpillars in an enclosure in my garage, trying to keep them safe until they decide to go into their chrysalis. There's three at the top that are very close that are going to turn into a chrysalis anytime now, and this one is kind of moving around a little bit, so I was trying to see if it was starting the chrysalis process, and it doesn't appear to be. This has just evolved very quickly into me trying to make sure that there's a space for these caterpillars. So the light that you're seeing, those are UV lights that I usually use to start seeds, but I figured if I'm bringing caterpillars inside, they probably can benefit from some UV while they're getting big enough to turn into butterflies. So I just kind of thought I'd show you my setup. I'm not a professional. I am just trying to help the critters in my garden make sure that they can survive. A friend of mine showed me their setup, and they raise swallowtails. They have the Ziploc containers with rocks in the bottom to help them stay stable. They keep theirs on the patio, but since I had this greenhouse with climate control, kind of, if it gets too cold, I have a heater, but the heat is kind of, right now it's 79, so it's not over 100 or anything, but it's still warm enough for them to go ahead and metamorphosis. So I took her tip and I got the cups. These actually have screw-on lids, so if it did tip over, hopefully it wouldn't just drown anybody. I drilled a hole in the top, and I'm just taking cuttings from my actual plants and putting them in with the caterpillars, and then when they eat it all, then I replace it every day. So try not to squish anybody. Take out some leaves that I had in there previously. Make sure there's no caterpillars on them. Take the dried up stuff out. Make sure I'm not gonna throw anybody out into the garage with no food. Monarchs, the caterpillars, only source of food is milkweed. And milkweed is also poisonous to humans. So when I learned, all I have to do is get milkweed and put it in my yard and I'll get monarchs, I was like, yes, let's do that. And I only just learned that it can be poisonous if ingested, or if you rub it in your eyes, or something like that. So I don't recommend, especially if you have little children. But my kid's 13, and he doesn't often like helping me in the garden. And when I touch the sap, I just try to make sure to remember to wash my hands when I get done working with them. So yeah, it's just a new thing for me. It's pretty exciting. I go out and I check the milkweed plants that are outside, and I find a caterpillar pretty much every time I go out there at this point. And like I said, my area usually doesn't see monarchs until the end of August. And I had one in May, I think. And it was still pretty cold, and it was just a complete shock that I ended up with a monarch caterpillar that early. So I think I will turn the camera around after I place this, and maybe, I had a little stick in there, but they don't need the sticks. They're walking around in there just fine without them. Make sure there's no stowaways on any of them. And I'm actually surprised to learn that they are eating the stem of the milk flower. I thought they only ate the leaves, but I guess when you're presented with only what I'm giving you, maybe you'll eat what you're given. So I don't know if that's normal. Trying to situate things here. Okay. You couldn't see me. I was just looking around. I'm gonna put a little bit of water in this in case, I don't know if they drink water or if they get all their water needs from the milkweed. I haven't looked up that far yet. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn it around and give you a little tour of the butterfly enclosure. Just kidding. We're still outside the butterfly enclosure, but there's 3 on this stem right here. Camera makes them look kind of big, but they're really, I wouldn't call them babies, maybe adolescent. Gonna put this back in here. Make sure nobody's underneath where it just was. Okay. Now I think I'll show you the enclosure. So here is the caterpillar enclosure. Once they turn into monarchs, I can take them outside and release them. I have 3 that are up here spinning silk. Hopefully those will transform into a chrysalis soon. I have 3 on this little branch right here, so that's 6. 7, that one's probably about to shed. Let's see how it doesn't have as much black on it as the ones that are up there. So it's probably about ready to molt. So what did I say? 3, 6, 7, 8. I'm surprised that one's not up there. 9, 10, 11, 12, and this little tiny baby right there is 13. And every time I go outside, I find another one. And there should be 2 additional eggs that I placed in here, perhaps 3. So I don't know if I should keep count anymore. Unless I find a carcass, I mean, everything seems to be going well. I pull leaves off the bottom of these cuttings and I put those on the bottom. If there are any that are too small or too weak that can't climb, they should be able to find a leaf on the bottom at least for 12 hours or so until the leaf gets too wilty. Then they don't really like them. All of that dark matter that's on the bottom, that's feces, that's poopy. This is a dried up leaf, so let's just get this and check. Make sure there's nothing on it. It doesn't look like it. Is this one dry? No, that one's still fresh. Put it towards the middle. I didn't really put that leaf there for that big guy, but the other cuttings that I had in here had been eaten. So, you know, when you take advantage of the situation. And I don't blame him. I squirted a little bit of water from a squirt bottle on this so that the sponge has water. I don't think that they need water. I think that they get all the nutrients and the liquid that they need from eating the milkweed plant. But just in case, if a butterfly hatches and I don't have time to, you know, make sure it has food, which shouldn't happen, I check every day, I can put sugar water in that. I think I'm just gonna sit here and record for a minute and maybe just be quiet. So enjoy. Hey, it's the next day. Exciting developments. The 3 that were up on the top in the beginning of the video are all now in a chrysalis. And the one that I was saying that looked like it was gonna shed soon, it has shed. So let me get the camera turned around. So those are the 3 in a chrysalis. I came out here this morning. Oh, what time would I think? Maybe like 8:30. And by 11, 2 of them were in a chrysalis. And what time is it now? It's 12, and the 3rd one is in the chrysalis. So one of these days I need to try to time my video making to try to capture that process for you and for myself. I think it'd be a really interesting process to watch. And as for the little caterpillar that I thought was gonna shed, it has. There's plastic in between the camera and the caterpillar, so sometimes it has trouble focusing, but really? That is a monarch egg right there on that leaf, and I didn't even see it. I added some new cuttings this morning, which was different from the video yesterday. And I'm not sure, when I first started doing this, they stood up real tall and they didn't bend over like that. So I'm really not sure what is going on, other than it's really hot in Northeast Kansas right now. And my plant is probably pretty stressed out from all the heat. But as long as it doesn't dry out, like this one's drying out, and that makes me a little sad. Maybe I'm cutting the segments too long. Maybe I should cut them shorter so that they can conserve more energy. I think next time I'll go ahead and do that. But I had to show you that I have 3 in a chrysalis. So like I said at the beginning, I never really thought that this would be something that I would be interested in. I didn't know that I could just put a milkweed plant in my front yard and get caterpillars and then bring them inside and make sure that they survive long enough to transform into a butterfly. And it all just kind of, it just kind of happened. So thanks for watching. You'll see me next time.